Hey, man, you need a cab?
Well, what's wrong with this one?
He ain't got 5 kids to feed.
Hello and welcome to Food to Watch Films By, episode 436.
436.
Yes, my name's Johnny.
And my name's Adam.
And coming up in this episode, we'll be dishing out another film and food recommendation, this time looking at the directorial debut from Coldplay's Chris Martin entitled I Am But a Humble Pear, which follows the release of Coldplay's 36th album.
Will they ever go away?
Oh, who knows. We've got another film not to food by, brought to you by Pablo, everyone's favourite mutant half-man, half-lizard thing. But before all that, we've got another Adam's Top 5.
That's right, Johnny, and this time we're going to be looking at the life's work of Cher. Cher's still looking fantastic at 150 years old, mainly due to the bionic heart, brain and legs that she now has.
Okay, yeah.
But first we're going to kick off, just to kick off the 20 honourable mentions, we're going to start with the classic 2010 film starring Cher and Christina Aguilera. It's Burlesque.
I've been brought down to my knees, and I've been
Johnny. You okay, mate? I think you nodded off a little bit then.
Oh man, yeah. Thank God, I was having a right nightmare then.
Was I in it?
You were, yeah. I was having a bit of an image of a dystopian nightmare future. It was horrible.
Cool. Was I a robot?
No, nothing
like
as cool
Robocop.
as that. No, we were still doing the podcast, but we were reviewing stuff like Chris Martin was in films. We were doing stuff about Cher as well.
That sounds terrifying.
It was terrifying.
That sounds absolutely terrifying. Anyway, mate, we've got a podcast to record.
Yeah. Okay, so welcome to Food to Watch Films By. This one's actually episode 5.
Episode 5.
Yes.
Cinq, as the French would
le,
say.
le cinq. If you've not listened to this podcast before, basically we talk about films we've watched, recommend food that would help enhance your experience of watching that film, so that you can, smell, taste that film in all its depth and glory.
We want to be just tingling every single sense that you have.
Yes.
All 5 or 6 senses if you are like Haley Joel Osment and can see ghosts.
Imagine us, imagine it's, Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing. We want to connect with you in the way that song would connect with people in a sensual manner.
So let's get it on.
Yes.
Let's get it on.
Let's get it
on.
So, yes, this time we've got a bit of a dystopian theme. If you're not familiar with dystopia, it's an image of a dark future, and that's been represented many times in film. Before we get on, you've brought us some refreshments, Adam.
We do indeed. We have a couple of beers, a couple of brewskis.
Yes. What are we drinking tonight?
Well, we've gone further north than Yorkshire. Today we've gone for Caledonian Brewery up in Edinburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Scotland. This is Coast to Coast, which is their pale ale.
Yes.
So if we'd crack this open for you, mate. And,
hello.
Try not to spill it over the recording equipment. There you go,
Yes.
pal. So
Chin, chin.
Caledonian Brewery. That's a free plug for you. The first one's free. The rest will need to be paid for via free beers. So cheers, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, that tastes like shit. It's very good. It's nice. It's nice. Actually.
Crisp. So, shall we move on to our first segment, which is Adam's Top 5?
Cause this is Adam's Top 10.
I mean 5.
Right, so it's time for the dystopian movies top 5, which I'm being really honest was incredibly difficult to narrow down a top 5 because there's so much to go at.
Yeah, it's broad, vast.
I think with dystopian movies, there's a huge selection because there's so many different avenues it can go down. I think the reason, when you look at the quality as well, there's some really high quality dystopian films, and I think it's because I think the appeal of dystopian movies is that it's a future that's a little bit too close to home. If you know what I mean. It plays on people's anxieties, whether that's a fear of a technology eventually taking over us, whether it's fear of a totalitarian regime,
fear of buttons, Cher,
exactly, or Coldplay getting to album number 36.
Yep.
You know, there's those things that you feel like could actually happen in our lifetime and are just around the corner. And I think the fact it plays on that, it does get that good audience response. So there was a lot to go at. There was a hell of a lot to go at. The honourable mentions list, we could be here literally for the length of the episode going through it. I'm going to just reel off a few of my favourites. So honourable mentions, we've got Soylent Green, good film, well worth watching. Battle Royale, Death Race 2000, which we'll discuss later on. The 1984, the adaptation of 1984. You know, the daddy of dystopian movies, the Orwellian future.
The illegitimate mother.
Well, yeah, I mean, the film, all right. It probably demonstrates how strong the top 5 list is going to be, that's out of it. You know,
Good.
12 Monkeys, Escape from New York, Logan's Run, Mad Max, Robocop, Terminator, Matrix. The list goes on.
Okay.
The list goes on. Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Right.
Watch Hell Comes to Frogtown, Johnny.
Okay.
God,
that was so many. I was only joking when I said 20 honourable mentions for you to do 20 honourable mentions.
But this is what I mean. I mean, we could literally just go on all day about it.
Okay. We get it.
I totally know that this top 5 is going to be divisive, purely because I think everybody's top 5 would be different, because it does depend upon, you know, what your idea, what your kind of anxiety is. Yeah, exactly. I think for me, in the main, what always has a big effect on me is more the kind of the kind of totalitarian kind of regime and dystopian future. So the 1984 is, I always put as one of my favourite books of all time, because it does have a bit of an impact on me. I think it is a fact that, you know, that could happen. That could easily, it has happened in you know, other countries having that kind of dictatorships and totalitarian government. That could totally happen. So that always has a bit of an impact on me. Right. So these are my top 5. Honestly, if you do have any other suggestions, you know, hit us up on Twitter or drop us an email, let us know. Because I'll be really interested to see what other people's top 5s are. I'm sure they do differ. But there's no point in, you know, sort of trolling us and putting,
what makes you
this is bullshit. How's that your number one? Because, you know, it's subjective, isn't it? But anyway, so
we get it.
In at number 5.
Number 5?
I've gone for Planet of the Apes.
Oh, yes.
Classic. I love Planet of the Apes so much. It's a great film. It's, you know, it is a dystopian movie at the end of the day. It was Earth all along.
Yeah.
Brilliant film. Again, I don't understand why it had to be remade. I don't mind the prequels that came out, but the whole remake thing, we could have an episode on unnecessary remakes, to be honest, because there's a lot out there and it just angers me.
And not to ruin it for anyone who's never seen it, but it's a planet with apes.
Yeah, and I mean, spoiler alert again for the entire of this episode. We will ruin every single movie that we discuss. So
sorry to ruin that one for you anyway.
Exactly. In at number 4, we've got
number 4.
A Clockwork Orange.
A Clockwork Orange.
I said clock.
A Clockwork Orange,
which is a special version of that movie that I have in my DVD collection.
That's a great film. I love Clockwork Orange.
A Clockwork Orange. It's it's great. I mean, it's one of Kubrick's greatest achievements. It's one of his best works, I'd say. And again, you know, it's kind of playing on anxieties around, you know, youth culture. Brilliant film. Watched it again recently. You know, it's the kind of film that gets drilled in you if you've ever, you know, studied film or anything like that.
It's one of the first ones they play, isn't it?
Yeah, as a student, I must have watched it about 100 times, but I watched it again fairly recently, and it still stands up. It's an absolutely great film.
Yep.
In at number 3.
Number 3.
You're gonna like this one, Johnny.
Yeah.
Blade Runner.
Oh,
Number 3.
thank you.
You might not like the fact that it's only in at number 3, but Blade Runner.
It's making me actually excited to hear what number 2 and 1 are. So.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, Blade Runner, fantastic. It still looks good today. Great
fantastic.
performances. Please, Hollywood, don't remake it. It doesn't need to be remade. It looks better than half of the sci-fi crap that gets released now, so just keep it as it is.
And it's got such wonderful atmosphere, tension, everything.
Brilliant film.
Yeah, culminating to one of the greatest final scenes ever, in my opinion. But anyway.
Yeah. Yes. In at number 2.
Number 2.
Metropolis.
Mm.
Classic,
Okay,
1927.
I suppose probably the first dystopian film on record, maybe.
The first dystopian film on record, certainly, but it outdates 1984, the book. It outdates George Orwell's writing of that, and that has to be an influence, surely, on his work. I mean, I think the biggest influence was probably actually, kind of European politics at the time, but. That has to surely have some influence. Again, I watched this recently in preparation for this podcast because we don't just throw it together.
Hell no.
I do a little bit of work for this, but it looks good. It looks fantastic.
Yep.
To think that was produced in the 20s, it's crazy.
Yeah, where they were very limited. They had no form of society, no manners. Nothing had been invented. They literally just had trees.
Is that your vision of 1927?
I thought that's what it was like. No, sorry, they had Art Deco as well.
They had Art Deco.
Lots of Art Deco everywhere.
And they're all drinking old fashions as well.
Yeah, and going, yes.
Here, see? So that's Metropolis could be number 1 for me, but I'd say as a whole movie, it looks fantastic. It deserves its place up there, but not my number 1. Number 1, this movie for me brings together all the elements I want to see in a dystopian movie, and the film is Brazil.
Oh yes.
Terry Gilliam, yeah. Of Monty Python fame. Yeah. Great film. The reason it's my number 1, and again, this is going to be really sort of diverse because people, it's a bit of a Marmite film. I think people either love it or they hate it. I absolutely love it. To me, it incorporates everything I love about dystopian movies. Yeah. Again, it has that kind of dictatorship government type of environment that is in it. It's very Orwellian, but it's got a really dark sense of humour. I think dystopian movies are a fantastic vehicle for satirical comedy. It just sets it up nicely, and I think Brazil, out of all the movies that kind of tackle that subject matter, deals with it in the best way. It does at times. It does feel like a Monty Python film, and I think it treads that line of getting a little bit too bizarre in places, but it never really goes completely off the wall. It keeps it together really well, and I just loved it throughout. It's funny, it's exciting, it's dark. If you've never watched it, please check it out.
Yeah, give it a watch.
Number 1, Brazil.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. So a full-on dystopian top 5 with about 1 million honourable mentions, but we got there. After you've digested all that, go away, watch them if you've not watched it, and yes,
take a couple of Remys and we'll continue.
Yeah. So let's get on to our first film and food recommendation: Death Race 2000. So, Death Race 2000, the 1975 film directed by Paul Bartel, which brings us a rather crazy image of a dystopian future in which a number of races, a number of contestants have to race across the country, in which they score points by mowing down members of the public. They get more points for children, old people, but it's something that's endorsed by the government and headed up by the president as for the kind of entertainment of the public.
So it's a little bit like the Hunger Games, but way before the Hunger Games, and fun.
Way before fun?
No, it's fun comparison to
I'm with you. Yeah, but the film stars a very young Sylvester Stallone. I think it was one of his very first appearances, wasn't it? And David Carradine.
Carradine or Carradine? How would you pronounce it?
I always say Carradine.
I say Carradine, but I think it's a little bit like Kim Basinger or Kim Basinger.
Well, I'm a Basinger. I'm in Camp Basinger. Anyway, David Carradine, after he quit Kung Fu, and this was his first proper sort of film role, wasn't it? As a sort of way of breaking into films. Yeah. So he stars as the character Frankenstein. You've even got Martin Cove, you might know from the Karate Kid films.
Was he the
sensei?
The sensei, the bad sensei.
Yeah.
Yes,
John
right.
Something, can't remember. And then a host of female cast members as well. Simone Griffith, Mary Warrenov as Calamity Jane. Essentially, it's crazy, full out mental film. But it's just pure entertainment, I thought.
I agree.
If you like to see old people left out to be run over, that sounds a bit dodgy.
It was for euthanasia, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but Frankenstein decided not to comply, shall we say? He had other ideas and took out the nurses and the doctors instead, who wheeled the poor guys out there. I think Frankenstein was a brilliant character. The concept of Frankenstein in the movie was
a great hero
great.
and anti-hero.
It was definitely an anti-hero. Yeah. Although again, we've got to say spoilers. I know we've said it already, but at first he doesn't. You think he's basically the almost figurehead next to the president of this kind of political regime. But then we find out as the film transpires that he's the anti-hero and he's trying to topple.
And he sheds his mask and he's with the rebels that they. What I thought was funny was that they blame the French, but even though the people the rebels, after they do a video, they're clearly not French, so it's a bit absurd in that manner.
There's no one French in the movie.
No.
One thing, if any criticism of this film, I was struggling to fully understand what kind of sort of political environment we're in, because it's American. They've renamed it. It's year 2000. They clarified that in the 70s there was a world economy crash, by the sounds of it. So everything went tits up. And then, you 30 years down the line, and there's this reformed United States. There's a president who's clearly, he calls himself president, but is clearly a dictator. Yeah. Apparently, Nazism never died out, and it's pretty acceptable because one of the main races is a Nazi with an American accent.
Matilda the Hun.
Yeah, and they have a lot of support. There's swastikas being waved around. Yeah. No one bats an eyelid. So, are we in a future where the Nazis won and or still managed to survive,
or admired in some weird way?
Because not everyone's talking in German accents or utilising that, so you don't get the impression that Nazism was a dominant force behind it. It is still America. They don't like Europeans, especially the French, but apparently.
Well, who likes the French?
Yeah. They really didn't like the French, but we don't see anybody who is French.
And their
so
slight arrogance. I'm only kidding. Whoa.
No, to our French listeners, both of them out there. Do we have any French listeners? We love you. Bonjour.
We really love you.
Ça va très bien.
And we mean that. In an intense way,
in a passionate way, because we know French people are passionate.
Yeah, exactly. We're reciprocating.
We always reciprocate. But we've spoken French quite a lot actually through this episode.
We. But no, I thought it was really good, and I love the names. Machine Gun Joe Viterbo. Calamity Jane, and it's. it's just a good wild romp of a film, with lots of, political satire, comments on society, mass media, power of mass media, us as a society buying into the most ludicrous things at the expense of others. But I thought it was great.
No,
I liked it a lot.
I absolutely loved it as well. I was slightly confused a little bit. With Frankenstein, David Carradine's character, his outfit. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because David Carradine, some brilliant performances over the years. We don't want to really, go on too much about how he passed away. Stranglewank. But he
Michael Hutchins.
But I kind of got the impression that maybe there was an interesting discussion with the sort of producers, and it was David Carradine's idea for him to be wearing a gimp outfit throughout the movie.
It was a bit dodgy, wasn't it?
It's like
particularly when he sort of strips off his clothes, but he's still got the kind of gimp mask.
He's still got the gimp mask on there. I just imagine him negotiating with the producers.
Although, was that symbolic? Was that kind of him, keeping that on to see if she was in love with the character Frankenstein or the real man behind the mask? And then she takes the mask off, and it's like, oh yeah, and then they get down to business.
No, I think he's just a kinky guy. He just likes to wear rubber.
Well, actually, because it's supposed to be leather, isn't it? But he refused to wear leather, so they had to make a costume that kind of looked like leather but isn't leather or something. Something like that.
No, but I just wondered. It seemed, for a character called Frankenstein, my first thought wouldn't be, let's just kit him out in a gimp mask, and why not give him a cape? So it's like as well.
Exactly.
Finish off the outfit.
It is a bit wacky races, basically. Which is
which is why it's great. To be fair, I will say this. Now, I don't really buy into the whole sort of kind of media violence debate, like can films and etc. can have a influence people's behaviour to the stage that they'll do something horrendous. You tend to get it when there's some sort of horrendous act, and if it can be linked to movies or computer games or songs, they can do it. Like Columbine shooting, exactly. But I don't really subscribe to that. But that being said, I did have a moment that made me doubt that stance, because I went out for a drive shortly after watching the film to do a big shop. And I was driving down, and there was an old guy going to his car, and there was a bit of a flash of thought of.
Do it.
He's over 70. I'd get 50 points for that. Adam. No, I didn't mow down the old guy. He's still hopefully knocking around. But there was a little bit that sort of made me. It was only a flash of a thought, but it was enough to kind of disturb me a little bit.
I mean, I'm very much of the thought that these films are good because we do have these thoughts, these slight impulses sometimes, and in a way we need them manifest in film to kind of in a way release them. I mean, they can, it could be argued that it inspires people in certain ways, but it makes whole, life interesting.
Well, the whole killing for sport and the kind of being allowed to being in a society where you're allowed to kill and not only not have any consequences but actually be celebrated is a pretty common theme in dystopian movies.
It is.
Hunger Games, Running Man.
That's
Battle Royale. The Purge more recently. The Purge. So I think there is some sort of maybe it does tap into something a little bit dark. That people seem to enjoy.
Brilliant one. So if you've not seen it, get involved, give it a watch. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube even. It's available for your consumption. So should we get onto the food aspect?
Absolutely.
I'll jump on this one, shall I, to begin with?
You get stuck in.
Okay, well for this I was trying to think, obviously the film's about driving dangerously, taking risks in a car. So I was trying to think what foods are quite dangerous to eat while you're driving, or quite hard to eat. Maybe putting yourself at risk by trying to eat them. We've all done it where you're driving on a motorway and you open your bag of crisps with one hand and you have a bit of a snack. But yeah, I was trying to take it to the next level.
Okay.
So I've done a bit of a top 5 foods not to drive by, basically. So the first one is Pringles. I actually have a tube of Pringles right here. So imagine this, Adam. Like if you were driving along,
Can I have one?
Yeah, you can have a Pringle. Salt and vinegar.
My favourite.
A lot of people like cheese and chive or whatever it is.
Other tube-based crisps are
chive.
available.
Yeah, but imagine. I mean, obviously, there's still quite a lot in the tube at the moment. But as you work down, you have to really put your hand into the tube, and you've got to reach quite down. The amount of times I've got my hand stuck in the tube. Now imagine that driving. You'd be one-handed. You're putting yourself at risk. That's dangerous.
It's a good point. There's a lot of involved, particularly as you get, literally past the first few Pringles. Sorry, we're going to be eating Pringles whilst talking here, which is bad manners.
Yeah, and once you pop, you can't stop.
Exactly. It's so true. Yeah. But no, I agree with that.
So that was the first one. Fondue, obviously, hot, liquidy cheese. That's bad. You're never going to know them. Yeah. Next one, chicken fried rice, because that's a bit fiddly. I was thinking more the inconvenience of it, because you spill it down your lap, gets under there, and then gets embedded in the seat. It's not very nice. You've got to clean it up later. No, just avoid it. Next one, runny egg sandwich. Like you've got a runny yolk. You bite into, you get that liquidy yellow yolk. Pour out, you're going to get it all over your clothes or over the upholstery dashboard.
If you get piping hot yolk on your face as well, it stings and it's distracting when you're driving.
Exactly, you get the side of your mouth, you'll be like fiddling with it. You run the risk of not paying attention to the road. Finally, a baked Alaska, because come on, you're setting fire to something inside a small compartment of a car. It's not going to go well.
Don't do it, kids. It's not advisable.
Yeah, or do it. If let's pretend it's a dystopian future right now. Go out there, eat a runny egg sandwich while trying to drive to work. Do it.
Yeah, in fact, who are we to tell you what to do? This is your life. This is your future.
Exactly.
Make it the way you want it to be.
Eat Pringles
whilst driving. But I like that, Johnny. No, it's good. We've got different trails of thoughts with this one. To be fair.
Like to hear that. Good.
So a bit of diversity. Okay. For my food suggestion, when I was watching the film, it became apparent. I was a little bit concerned because essentially the driving from one American coast to the other, they're going from New York to Los Angeles.
Yep.
It's a long drive.
Yep.
And throughout the course of the movie, they seemingly only have 2 to 3 stops.
Okay.
Now, that seems not to get too bogged down in reality with it, because there has to be a little bit of a suspension of disbelief.
Ooh. Check you out with your sophisticated terms. Anyway,
thank you. Throughout the movie, where they're travelling, not only do they have very few stops, and those stops are the only part where they're actually eating food. So I was a little bit concerned that maybe they weren't getting
enough nutrients.
Yeah, enough nutrients.
Sustenance.
And if you're in taking part in a death race,
you're gonna want to be stocked up, aren't you? Yeah.
You're trying to score points by killing other people. You've got the other drivers who are also trying to kill you and run you off the road. On top of that, you've got these activists who are setting off bombs to try and disrupt the race. There's a lot of shit going on. Exactly. Damn you, Frenchie. But yeah, it's there's a lot going on. So I've basically come up with a bit of a pack sandwich, a bit of a lunchbox scenario for the driver to have.
Yep.
So they're keeping the energy levels up and the reactions are keeping as sharp as possible.
Okay. Yeah.
So I YouTubed energy sandwiches.
Oh, never heard of them.
To see if there was any sort of superfood based sandwich, which would help people sort of keep their energy levels up. Because the thing is, if it's a long drive, you don't want to be filling yourself with caffeine and Red Bull energy drinks, because you're going to crash at some stage. You want to just keep a good sort of even high of energy, really.
Yeah,
so
I'm with you.
The sandwich first. Let's start with the sandwich. So I've gone for it's going to be sort of slightly toasted whole wheat bread.
Ooh.
Now then you want to put a layer of almond butter.
Ooh.
On that, nuts, almonds, quite packed of energy in there. Now, then add some smashed avocados.
Bloody hell!
Yeah, fantastic source of energy. I'm very good for you.
I love avocado.
Spinach. I want to put some spinach in there.
Why not?
We're getting the superfoods in there.
We're hitting the superfoods.
Yeah, and that's your sandwich. That's your sandwich.
Okay.
Now, as I've mentioned on a number of episodes, I am a big fan of meat.
Okay.
So you need to have a bit of protein in there, but something that's practical to eat. So a bag of beef jerky.
Bag of beef jerky.
Yeah, so it's a good source of protein.
I don't know why that sounded so funny the way you said that. Bag of beef jerky.
A bag of beef jerky, and you can just eat as you go on.
Yeah.
Banana. As well, and you need to drink plenty of fluids.
Indeed,
throughout, but stay away from the caffeine because you want to avoid that crash. So maybe just water, maybe a fruit juice every now and again. But so that's my Death Race 2000 lunchbox.
I like it. Would you actually serve it in like a lunchbox that you'd have at school, maybe with the Death Race kind of graphic on it? That'd be cool.
You'd have
with a flask.
Machine Gun Joe scrapping. Yeah.
So, well, I think that wraps it up for that one. So you can have yourself one of 5 potentially dangerous foods to not drive by, including Pringles, fondue, chicken fried rice and others, or you can have yourself a superfood sandwich, a beef jerky, or a drop of water to keep yourself pepped.
Keep hydrated.
Yes, very important. Keep hydrated all the time.
Yeah.
Right, well, I think that's that one. So should we move on? Okay, so we're at that point in the episode again, and this is a bit of a, how can we say it, it's a section that I've been playing around with for the past few episodes, coming up with something slightly different, and we've been trying to incorporate some of our listeners as well, in various ways. So this time we've got another listener, and so shall we welcome her in?
Let's do it.
Adam. So, listener, what's your name and where are you from?
My name's Gemma, and I'm from Glossop, which is where the League of Gentlemen is filmed. There's trivia fans everywhere.
I never knew that.
Oh,
I always thought it was somewhere in Yorkshire Moors.
Oh, right.
I was actually a German exchange student in Series 2. So you should feel privileged that you've got such a high roller on the show.
Wow, Alice Clark.
Alice Clark.
Oh, excellent. I didn't know. I could have greeted you in that way, couldn't I? Alice Clark.
Yeah, that's literally the only interesting thing about me. That's why I always lead with it.
Yes, well, anyway, so I've already briefed you a little bit on the theme of the episode, and this episode is all about dystopian futures. I'll tell you what, do you want to explain what you've done?
Well, as I was trying to think about my own idea of a dystopian future, and I thought it would be easier to ask other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done a little bit of a quick survey with the people I've come in contact with, which have included a 9-year-old girl, a 60-odd-year-old man, and then just a lot of people in their 30s, obviously, around me.
Weird.
So
broad section.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a cross-section there,
I like quite a diverse segment.
Start with the first one, and then you can guess which of the demographics suggested this one.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
So, dystopian future, it's which I thought was quite dark, actually. So everyone is told that the world is going to end tomorrow, but then it doesn't. And then the next day, you're told again that the end of the world is going to come again.
Oh.
Like, like in the Japanese death row, where every morning you don't know when you're going to be called. So you get your knock on the door, and it could be your breakfast or it could be your death. So it's kind of like that. Like, you never know when it's coming.
Right.
So which person, do you reckon, told me that?
Ooh, I don't. That is quite dark, actually.
It is dark. I think it's quite clever.
It's a bit like Groundhog Day. But,
is it too dark for a
really
9-year-old?
Yeah. Could it be the 9-year-old? 9-year-olds do have dark imaginations.
Do you know what? It is the 9-year-old girl.
Oh, wow.
That's my 9-year-old niece who told me that.
This could be a good test for like a sociopath.
She'll be Lizzie Borden, won't she, when she grows up?
I mean, 9-year-olds.
I want to keep my eye on her.
I mean, so next one. Let's see if we can get it.
Next one, it's an everlasting allotment. So you go in an allotment that's not very well maintained, and then you're walking in it for ages, and then you get to the end of it, and then there's another allotment.
Whoa.
And then you're just constantly walking through loads of really rubbish allotments. And
what
then
with them?
it's not even a good one like River Cottage. It's just really just like a shoddy allotment, just an endless
kind of like
shoddy allotment.
I don't know, like purple sprouting broccoli that's bolted and is flowering,
Yeah,
and you
things
can't
you
eat the
don't
fruit.
want,
So basically, society
or something less middle class than that.
Could that? I hate to generalize. Could that be the 60-year-old? Maybe.
Do you know what? No, that is that was a early 40-year-old, very trendy man.
Oh right, oh wow.
Don't know whether that. Yeah, so
With a phobia
who
of
doesn't have an allotment? Maybe that's why he's got a fear of allotments. But I thought that was quite.
Does he
quite
scare
good.
easily?
No, he just came straight out of it as though he'd already been thinking about it. That was preying on his mind.
Fair play.
This is why I like Dystopian. This is a good question to ask because I think it does play on people's anxieties.
Yeah. My mate's dad used to have a phobia of buttons, which I always thought was a bit weird. Maybe and he must have been about 40 odd, 50 at the time. Who knows? Yeah. We're digressing somewhat, I think. Yeah.
Well, the next one then is where it's a bit more serious. So where technology rules. So basically, people stop talking to each other. Yeah. So everyone's on their tablets all the time. So it's just a lot of pasty, fat people in their own dark room, never interacting in real life. They're just speaking to each other electronically. So
that's the present. What about the future? What?
Yeah.
That,
But it is kind of getting more. It's a bit. I suppose that's a bit like Wall-E, isn't it? To an extent.
Yeah.
But
so how close we are to that already?
Yes, to be honest. Yeah. The fact that we're not in the same room just highlights that really well. Yeah. So, but yeah, people just, and also the person in question was saying that it's also, when you're on the internet and you'd say things you'd never say. So someone will come on YouTube and they'll just put like a nice video of some flowers and some piglets running around it, and then people will be like, "You effing like why?" and it's like if people spoke like they do on YouTube comment.
Well, exactly.
I think that kind of thing.
I often give people abuse for absolutely no reason. I'll call people pedophiles, whatever, but I would never do that in the street. I wouldn't just go, "Hey, pedo."
I'd embrace pedophiles. So who do you reckon said that one?
I suppose I'd have to say again the 60-year-old.
I'm going to go with 30.
No, that was the dad. And then the last one is just that. It's not too far. It's similar society to how it is now, but everything's annoying. Like your shoes are always like a bit tight.
Like
they always rub on you a little bit, but not enough to bother buying new ones. Just enough to go, I've worn them again. Or your trousers are just a bit short, so you can always slightly see your socks. Like not fully, like you're wearing the wrong size, but just like, man, like I'm down the road now.
Yeah. Or you go into a shop and you ask what you want, and they go, "Excuse me," and you've got to repeat yourself again. Like that really does my head in.
Every time you say something, or you're making a brew and there's not quite enough milk for the right colour. It's a little bit see-through still.
It smells a little bit off, but not completely off.
Yeah, but you think, well, I'm just going to have to do it. Or, that eye twitch that you get sometimes when you're tired.
Yeah,
and you think everyone can see it.
That's kind of... you think
but
your
you have that
eyes
every day.
But yeah.
Every day you have that.
Yeah, no,
So I think that's quite a good one. I think that would do my head in quite quickly, I think.
Yeah, I mean, to the max, like everything was in that inconvenient state all the time. Yeah,
it's just slightly annoying.
That would be like,
but not enough. But just it'd be a bit like Chinese water torture, I think. Right? It'd slowly drive you mad.
Yeah. No, I think we might have a good idea for a film here. Actually, I can't think of a title. The Slight Inconvenience or something. I don't know. Starring Matt Damon. It would have to have Matt Damon probably.
But then, as the film was playing, it just skips slightly every 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. Or like sometimes the actor would say something and you can't quite hear it. Yeah, it's like, what did he just say? I missed what he said.
So that's kind of it. Apart from that, personally, the only thing that occurred to me with the Dystopian future would just be, if people stop queuing. I think I like the traditional British queuing system. I feel it would be really annoying. You go to a water park on the continent and it's just a free-for-all.
Yeah.
You think, no.
You're like, whoa, what?
Or you go to a bus stop and everyone just powers and says, I was here first.
Yeah, I've been waiting here half an hour. You just rock up your tit. Yeah.
Or you go to the bar and then you've been waiting there 10 minutes and then someone just comes up and orders and you think,
No, keep our cues.
This is how
Yeah,
society
keep
crumbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's British values, and without sounding BMP on it, queuing and manners are quite. I think they're quite big. I think if Britain first tapped into this queuing thing, I think they'd get a lot more people involved. Not that I'm advocating
They would have
that,
my
but-
vote.
But I think it's just that British queuing and people just having a free for all. But yeah, that was the sort of cross section of dystopian futures that I got from the quick survey that I did.
No, I like it.
So was the last one the process of elimination must have been a 30-year-old? Did we guess that one?
It was. Yeah.
Brilliant. All right, well, thanks for you conducting some research there. Very valuable. And so, you're not going to get away that quickly because we've got another game that I've introduced. And, it's basically entitled Tom Waits' Dystopian Drive-Thru.
Welcome to the Dystopian Drive-Thru. Yeah.
So, yes. But basically, sorry.
That's the first time I've heard that tune. That's amazing.
God, I'm coughing already. I had this last time, actually. So basically, the premise of the game is that you're driving back from a weekend away somewhere, and you're feeling a little bit worse for wear. You're having that car journey. You're getting halfway home. You're like, I'm really hungry. So pull over at the services, and you think, I'm going to grab a bite to eat. Pull into the drive-through. You've already selected what you want in your head. Press the button, and lo and behold, you're greeted by none other than the musician Tom Waits. So he starts taking your order, and for some reason you haven't asked him, why is Tom Waits working at a drive-thru? That's a bit weird. But anyway, and halfway through taking your order, he suddenly slips into a bit. He starts seeing visions of other futures, dystopian futures, and starts describing them to you. Now you're already hungry. You kind of want him to hurry up, get the food, and so the only way to do that is to interpret each of his dystopian futures, and by that I mean guess which film he's describing, basically, in a Tom Waits style. Does that sound clear?
This is how I always imagined meeting Tom Waits would actually work out. So
Selling me some chicken nuggets or something. Okay, so I'm going to play Future One.
If I just say Mad Max for every single one, will I get one right?
Well, no comment. Okay, so so Future One.
A top-floor apartment in a broken downtown, a fluffy carpet and purple walls, and a portrait of a man that looks a little bit like Bill Clinton, and that painting from Ghostbusters 2. He wallows in his hot tub while his wife drowns herself in a bottle of vodka. He knows how much she hates him. She never wanted those implants, and all the booze in the world won't turn the clock back.
Right, I think I know the.
Do you know this one?
I'm a little bit lost on this one.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, well, I might be wrong. I feel like I know it.
Okay. Yes.
Is it?
Okay.
Can I guess?
Yeah. No, that's the name of the game.
Do I know it because it's the best film that's ever been made?
Potentially. Go for it. What is it?
Is it Back to the Future 2?
Oh, yes, you're bang on there.
Oh, it's when Biff. It's when Biff gets down.
Yeah, it was the implants. You make me get these things.
Well, basically, anyone who's not seen it, it's Back to the Future 2, released 1989, was it? But yeah, it's the alternate 1985 that Marty goes back to after Biff's got the sports almanac, manages to change what happens, and Marty comes into a present that's all messed up.
And if you have never seen that movie, sort your shit out.
What is wrong with you?
That is
because it's on ITV2 every single
all the time. All the time.
Even if you don't want to see it, you will have seen it if you just watch ITV2 at any point over any given weekend.
Yes. Okay. Well, very good. 1 point. 1 point. Ooh. Okay. So on to future number 2.
He staggers across a dusty desert landscape, arriving at what could be best described as a bad 80s bondage convention. A small man sits atop another, while a woman with Brillo pads strapped to her head gets progressively angry while she considers we don't need another hero.
Can I press a buzzer? Am I playing against Gemma here, or is it? Or we just...
I pressed it before the quiz started.
Gemma's our guest. She gets to guess first. No offense, but and then you can guess if she doesn't guess it. But anyway.
Although I can't say exactly, but I think I presume it is Mad Max, this one.
But you've got to be more specific.
Is it Beyond Thunderdome?
Yes, it is. It is indeed. Yes. The
Unlucky Adam.
Mad Max 3 Beyond the Thunderdome, which
Ladies
I think it was 1985, starring Mel Gibson and Tina Turner, which is the one with the Brillo pads on her head. So again, if you've not seen it, what are you doing?
It's a classic.
Yes,
Two men and one man leaves.
Yeah,
classic.
Okay, so on to future number 3.
He sits at the bar waiting for the midget with the bad perm to pour him another drink, while the blood-red glow from the outside dances on his empty glass. They say the air outside is unbreathable, yet the danger is here on the inside. A tough ride when you've got 5 kids to feed.
Whoa, Tom Waits went a little bit sadistic at the end.
He did, yeah. So he's getting a bit into it now, old Tom. Anyway, so any ideas?
5 kids. I'm assuming it's not Look Who's Talking, because that does look like a nightmare for some people.
That is a bit of a dystopian nightmare, but not in this case.
I don't know. I might have to pass on this one.
So, Adam, have you got...
That's just to me, but I'm struggling with this. The air outside is unbreathable.
Is it right outside your door?
It is certain sections of Leeds.
There's a Total Recall. That's bad.
Sorry, Gemma, you've already had your turn, so you shut up.
Is it Total Recall?
It is. I don't know whether I can award a point though, because Gemma.
Totally can. I was going along those lines anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 1 point.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Basically, it's that kind of bar with the midget with the. She's got like she's got a machine gun or something at one point. I don't know, but yeah, she's got a terrible perm. Pretty bad makeup.
After the 3 boobs, I don't remember.
And the taxi driver who's got 5 kids to feed. Yes, later he says 4 kids, and you find out he doesn't actually have any kids. But anyway. Yeah. Well, okay, so it's 2-1 currently. Gemma leading. So on to future number 4.
She answers their questions, but she doesn't know that her eyes give it away. As a strange little toy man with a nose that looks a bit like a penis marches up and down, another man cries tears in the rain.
Got it.
Well, a hang fire.
See, I'm not sure what the last little bit is that he said that Tom Waits.
As another man as another man cries tears in the rain.
Big clue.
Yes.
Tears in the rain.
Yes. Tears in the rain.
See, nothing's instantly coming to mind for that.
Ooh.
Tears in the rain.
Pass it over, Johnny. Pass it over, Johnny.
Do you give in?
Yeah, I can't think instantly.
Okay. Okay, so Adam?
Is it Blade Runner?
Why, yes it is.
Yeah.
Yes. Blade Runner. 1982, I believe, starring Harrison Ford and Rutger Hauer.
Classic.
And Daryl Hannah and Sean Young. Yes.
To be honest, I've only seen it halfway through.
Ooh,
Things aren't that bad then. I know.
I've got to say, it's probably my favourite dystopian film, and one of my favourite films actually. I love it. Very good.
It appears in the top
Ridley
5.
Scott classic. But yeah, there's the classic line by Rutger Hauer at the end of the film where he talks about like tears in the rain. It's very poetic, and the strange little toy man with the nose that looks a bit like a penis. There's the guy who takes Daryl Hannah in, and he's kind of like a bit of an inventor. He's got these weird little creepy toy people things, and one of them I always thought his nose looked a bit cock-like. So yeah,
it just looks so good, that film, even 30 odd years on.
Give it a watch.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, right. So that's 2-2. Ooh, so it's all on this one. So so finally, future number 5.
A small square under a bleak grey blanket of smog, she staggers out of the local establishment. Her eyes and cheeks blackened with yesterday's makeup, and her breath like a donkey's bumhole. As she passes a bald-headed man laying face down in a pile of bin bags and discarded fish fingers, She thinks, I wonder what else is on telly tonight.
No, I'm stuck with this.
This is a
The
bit of a
bald man.
this is a bit of a tricky one.
Fish fingers.
Yes.
So it was kind of a little bit muffled at times. So it's a woman with yesterday's makeup goes past a bald man, face down in rubbish and fish fingers,
Yeah.
and thinks, I wonder what's on telly tonight.
Yeah. It's a square under what did Tom say? A square under a smoggy land night, something like that. I can't even remember.
Square under smoggy, and it's a woman with.
I'm lost in this.
I think a bit different. It's let me think.
Is it a British film?
Well, it's not a film. Just to drop that little bombshell.
You know
is
the
it
title of this
TV?
podcast is Food to Watch Films. By
Well, what did you say at the end?
Wonder what's on telly. So is it a TV show?
Could be.
I presume.
Could be.
TV show, dystopian TV show.
Again, maybe think about one person's idea of a dystopian future. Maybe.
But it's a
someone
future.
else's,
It's a
or-
futuristic.
Well, or is it the future?
What?
Oh God.
So this has helped in no way.
Yeah, this has helped. This has helped in absolutely no way.
Is it Brookside?
Keep
Is it
going.
EastEnders?
Eldorado.
Oh, yeah, Gemma got there first. It's EastEnders.
EastEnders. Is it a
dystopian?
Christmas Day EastEnders episode? Because that's the
It's-
most depressing half an hour of TV.
Well, exactly. Well, yeah, EastEnders always represents kind of,
Yeah, that's true.
Microcosm
it
of
always
the
goes
East End.
bad, always goes
Yeah.
wrong. They're always, alcoholic, depressed, divorced,
Yeah.
dead. All the things that are kind of everyday life, but condensed and hyped up. And in Christmas, it's always everything bad, terrible.
Everyone dies. Someone has to get off with Phil Mitchell.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, Phil Mitchell was one lying face down in the plastic bin bags because I don't actually watch it, but I did see something recently. I think he's currently an alcoholic in it or something, and he woke up in a pile of bin bags. So that was what that little nod was. And I think the woman was supposed to be Cat. I'm saying I never really watch EastEnders, but that one.
I like that you keep adding that in.
I know. I'm not trying to.
Well,
I
I never knew that
catch it
Tom
from time
Waits
to
was
time.
I noticed that when you record this, it's not when EastEnders is on.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. But yeah. So that's our.
Oh, excellent.
So well, actually, Gemma did get in that EastEnders so I think she just pips you to it.
Yes,
Who thought Phil Mitchell would help me win anything in life?
Exactly.
Damn you,
so,
Mitchell.
So yeah, but between you both, you managed to get all the dystopian futures. So that means Tom's, come round again, and you get your chicken nuggets or your Whopper, whatever it is you're ordering.
Yeah.
You're all good. You're home free.
Excellent. I hope I win a Big Mac then.
Oh yeah. Hang on. Prize. Oh, sorry, I forgot to think of what you could win.
Just a Happy Meal. Happy Meal is fine.
Okay. We'll send you a Happy
Just send
Meal
one
in the
through
post.
the post.
Yeah, I'll do recorded delivery just in case.
Just so it gets there quicker.
Yeah, and maybe a signed picture of me and Adam watching something.
EastEnders.
Yeah, watching EastEnders, crying.
Yeah. Okay.
Wondering what happened with our lives in this dystopian existence of ours. Okay, well, thanks, Gemma. You've been a great contestant, and thanks for your time and for the doing that conducting a little survey for us. It's been valuable. So,
I'm off to drink gin and kill myself now. So that's cheered me right up. Thanks.
fair play. I mean ultimately that is the aim of every episode of this is to do that. And
our main demographic are people on
exactly.
the edge.
And we will be
Lonely
instructing.
Lonely
basically, we're going to
people.
close this episode with, you know what? Life isn't worth anything anymore. We know you've been thinking about it. Reach for that knife and just go for it. Don't hold back anymore. Just embrace
Are we going to get
death.
sued? Is this going to be like Black Sabbath got nearly sued for
Back Sabbath.
Black Sabbath?
Who's Back Sabbath?
It's a really bad tribute band.
yeah, exactly. Never seen them.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks, and we'll catch you another time, perhaps.
Thank you. Speak to you soon.
Thanks, Gemma.
Au revoir.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we're on to our second film and food recommendation, and actually, we're also on to our second beer.
Well, yeah, we're about to be anyway. So this time we're sticking with Caledonian Brewery,
Yes.
not Caledonian, Caledonian Brewery,
Yep.
from Edinburgh. We've now gone for a free hop craft lager, a solid gold lager with spicy, minty aromas. So yeah, let's try this one.
Herbal and lingering lemony flavours. Sounds sensual.
Let's have a look.
Cheers, bud.
Cheers,
Thank
pal.
Ooh, that's
actually nice, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Smooth.
Yeah. Well done, Caledonian Brewery. Well done, lads.
I'm getting the minty aromas. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think I'm still waiting for that, but yeah, I kind of get that description. So it leads us nicely, that refreshing brew, into the next film, which is the recently released High Rise.
Yes.
Adaptation of J.G. Ballard's cult classic novel of the same name. Directed by probably I'll put this out, one of my, I say favourite, but probably one of the more exciting directors around at the moment, which is Ben Wheatley. A lot of, I don't know if you've seen likes of Sightseers. There's quite a lot of sort of dark comedy movies, always kind of a little bit unhinged and a little bit unsettling, but fantastic. So I mean, he's directed here, and I think he's done a fantastic job. A really good selection for bringing this adaptation to life, because I know over the years there's been talk of trying to adapt the novel, but it's a difficult thing to sell to Hollywood in particular.
Well, you can see there would be some complications and some logistical things that you're trying to work out, and
exactly.
Yeah.
How do you get the vision that is on paper to the big screen? It's how do you tackle that? A brief synopsis of the movie. Essentially, it's all based and all set primarily within a high-rise apartment building. It's kind of dystopian, state-of-the-art high-rise. And as the story progresses, it starts out, it's all singing, all dancing, everything's self-contained, everything is that the need is available in the complex. There's the gym, there's a swimming pool, there's a supermarket, everything's there. And it's a new way of living. As the story progresses, things start going wrong. Electrics start faltering. Supermarket's not getting fresh food in. Things continue to develop and continue to disintegrate, for want of a better phrase. And we very quickly progress to the almost a bit of a class war, really, between the lower sections of the apartment, the kind of lower middle class, versus the guys right up there in the penthouse. The
big dogs.
The big dogs, exactly. I mean, what the both the novel and the film, what it does fantastically well is it depicts this kind of microcosm of a decaying society, and it really does decay in this. I mean, it's getting
quite
to
rapidly,
very rapidly, but it gets to almost kind of like tribal instincts and just horrible actions without consequences. Every night's a party, but there's a lot of raping going on. There's a lot of raping and pillaging.
Yeah, there's a fair bit of
exactly, and the catalyst
sodomy.
Exactly, and the catalyst that starts it all is purely just the lower levels of the apartment block, basically crashing the party of the upper classes, and then things descend into madness from there.
Craziness.
But it's really clever how it works. This kind of dystopian future, and this kind of, as I say, microcosm for society that's starting to crumble. J.G. Ballard's writing, he draws a lot of parallels to kind of capitalism. And this kind of potential monster that can get out of hand. It's a difficult thing I feel to get onto film, but it's done very well. You can tell something's about to happen, and it's all
kick off. It's when the peaches go mouldy. That's what I thought. When I see the peaches, you're like, oh shit.
Exactly. I think that's a brilliant shot. Is that you go from literally panning across, you got the fresh fruit, and all of a sudden, look, this hot rotten fruit is still in the supermarket.
Their clothes, going crazy.
Exactly. But that's it. As it gets to that stage, you go from those kind of slow shots, slow editing. Unsettling, but kind of slow pace, and then very, very quickly it then switches up to fast camera work, almost kind of documentary style, like shaking camera work, fast cuts, and you're straight into the chaos.
People rotting each other in a kitchen.
Exactly, there's a fair bit of that. There's
a lot of that.
There was a lot of sexual activity.
Well, it's funny because I couldn't quite make my mind up about this one. I enjoyed it stylistically. I thought it was really good. I've never read the book actually, but I like the idea. I don't know. I was watching it halfway through. I don't know. I think my attention waned slightly, and then I came back onto it. But yeah, I kind of left a bit kind of it was all right. So yeah, but I don't know. I couldn't really quite get into it quite as much. Like I could see all the goodness of it, but I don't know.
The finished kind of effect of it didn't quite hit you in the same way. Yeah, and again, this is why dystopian movies are quite divisive because I can understand, but again maybe it's because of does it play on the kind of anxieties that you have for a dystopian future?
Well, yeah, I mean I've got no fear over rotten fruit. I often take that risk when I go into the fridge and I go, ooh, that looks a bit dodgy, a bit out of date, but I'll eat it anyway. So for me that's not a fear. It's not an anxiety.
I'm terrified of that. You see, so maybe that's why it affects me.
No, and people rotting in kitchens.
Dogs give. I think for me, dogs being murdered.
Oh yeah,
they eat a lot of dogs. When the food all runs out, what's the next thing to go? Dogs.
Dogs. Well, that is a bit harsh. But yeah, no, it's maybe it's not a dystopia for me.
No, exactly. But just a brief point on the performances.
Oh yeah, we've not even mentioned.
The performances. I thought Tom Hiddleston was great in it. I thought he held it together. It's quite I never really know how to Dr. Lang. I never know how to take his character.
It's kind of
because I suppose in this he actually thrives as things start to fall apart. He comes into his own a little bit.
Yeah, he's quite kind of to begin with. He's a bit neither here or there. I don't know. He's everyone else is they've got quite a strong personality about them. They're either quite seductive or forceful or quite outright, and he's just a bit I've just moved into a new building. But I suppose that adds a tiny bit of realism, maybe. New tenant wanting to make friends.
Well, that's it. The situation kind of forces him to find some sort of identity, I suppose. And they touched upon there's a scene that's touched upon it with Luke Evans' character. Again, Luke Evans I thought was great in it as well. Is it Wild? I think it's called. With his character, he actually addresses it. He's seen as a bit of a Wild is seen as a bit of a mad dog, really, quite impulsive, quite aggressive as a character. But as the film progresses, it explains, a sane person would respond in that way to what's going on here, whereas Tom Hiddleston's character is very calm throughout. So who's the crazy person? The person who's acting aggressive and like a bit of a wild dog, but in response to that environment, or the person who's seeming calm and actually evolving in that kind of environment,
or the person who takes their clothes off and runs around going crazy.
Exactly.
I know what I would do in that. I'd probably do that.
I want to
just run around. I'd run around eating dogs, hitting people with golf clubs or something. Rampage. The loot stores. I'd really go for it in that situation.
I'd probably just move to a bungalow somewhere.
Move out the high rise.
Cottage in the countryside. I think as soon as the first dog was being chopped up for meat, I think screw this. The can't be. We can't be that far away from a restaurant that serves steak. I'll go there. Look here.
So
yes.
There we have it.
So there we have it. High Rise, give it a watch. I'd certainly recommend watching it. Make up your own mind. Again, it's probably going to divide people, but I think it's a brilliant showcase of British talent.
Yeah,
a lot of good British talent in there.
Yeah. No. I mean, I did think it was a very ambitious project for a director who's probably not so established. I think he did very well in that respect.
I think it set him up to really kind of get his name. He's not going to be a household name yet, but I think I'd imagine Ben Wheatley's going to have some very interesting projects coming up. Anyway.
Yeah, Ben Wheatley.
Yeah.
Ben Wheatley. Yes.
Well done, Ben.
Well, yes. Right, so shall we get on to the food?
Let's do it. Let's have a look at this. So it's my turn first, is it?
Yep, go for it.
Okay, so
let's see what you've got in your dish.
Well, for this one,
yes,
I'm going to be very, very indulgent.
Okay.
We mentioned earlier, the life in the high rise got to the stage where it was just, people just acting out on impulse, and it was actions without consequences.
Yeah.
So, start off, I'm going to miss out on the main course. I'm going straight to dessert.
Ooh.
For this one.
Okay.
Not just any dessert. I'm going to go for a chocolate bomb.
Okay.
All right. So, the reason I've gone for this is a bit representative of the movie and the situation with the high rise. You've got this perfectly structured form of the chocolate bomb until you add a bit of extra indulgence to it. Yeah. And you add the kind of hot chocolate sauce to it.
Ooh.
And then it just implodes on itself.
God.
And it just melts and disintegrates. And what you have left, for some people, will just be, well, that's just ruined. To others, it's a hot, sticky, beautiful mess. Oof. And other people will thrive on it.
Yeah.
And, to be fair, I think, that's representative of the high rise and the theme of the movie. But I also kind of think that's how a lot of people will interpret the film as well, in terms of, for some people, they're going to see it as just a mess on the plate. Other people will see it as just a mess, but a beautiful mess.
A beautiful mess. You sound like you should be on MasterChef.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's a mess, but it's a beautiful mess.
It's a beautiful mess.
And I mean, that's it's a stylish dish for a stylish movie.
A dish that you could wish for.
Well done, Johnny. That rhymes. So,
I don't know what I was saying. Well, funny enough, I also had a dessert in mind, but I think I might change it now, actually, because I just feel like...
Did you go for dessert as well?
Yeah, I did. I was going to go for the old Viennetta, just because it's layered and it's kind of, it pertains to be this classy thing, but it's cheap shit. But no.
If you turned it on its side as well, it will kind of look like the high-rise building. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I was thinking from a structure point of view and from a kind of a class point of view, how you might look at it. So yeah. But I'm going to change my food recommendation to I was thinking more on the lines of something that you could eat as you're watching it, and as everything breaks down and it goes all crazy, having a line of different sandwiches. So the first one, you start off with a nice freshly prepared sandwich, crisp, fresh bread, crisp lettuce, bit of ham, whatever you fancy, fresh ingredients. And as you work down the line of sandwiches, they get progressively mouldier. So the last one you could have prepared, a couple of weeks ago, the bread started to go really green, and you get that kind of contrast, this breakdown of starting from fresh right through to, this is making me poorly. As a bit of again interactive, really getting immersed in that breakdown.
Yeah, I
see
rotting. I see what
society.
you mean, but I don't think I'd want to eat it.
Well, it's again, we've not always suggested things that are either that tasty, edible, legal, or desirable in any way. I have just promoted the use of trying to eat Pringles while driving and getting your hand caught in a Pringles thing and crashing your car.
If there's sort of increase in Pringle-related car accidents after this podcast, John is the man that you need to come after, not me. I'm disassociating myself from that. That was his brainchild.
So that wraps it up for that one. So you can have either a chocolate bomb dessert and look at it either way. Is it a molten mess, or is it a perfect dessert of indulgence. Or you can have an array of sandwiches starting from fresh and good to rotten and disgusting, just to really immerse yourself in the rotting of society. So, shall we move on? Oof.
Sounded brutal to that.
Disgusting.
Full of cold.
Anyway,
So,
just for the listeners now, if you didn't know what that was the sound of Pablo blowing his nose. Which brings us on to our final segment, which is films not to eat food by, where Pablo's going to basically talk about a film which you really shouldn't eat any food to, because you're probably going to feel pretty poorly if you try to. So, Pablo, how's it going?
How do?
Hello.
How's it hanging, gents?
Yeah, it's
short,
our
shriveled
reach.
into left hand side.
Oh, a little bit too graphic.
So I thought we were all going to join in with. Right.
Yeah, no.
No,
Okay.
no. I think we've all just been kind of brought down to it.
Well, this
kind
is
of
awkward. This is
I
awkward.
feel a bit
level.
awkward now.
Yeah.
So,
Damn.
anyway,
When I say short, yeah.
please
Carry
shut
on,
up.
Pablo.
Yeah, well, basically, I've after last month's farrago, I would say. I don't know if farrago would be the right term for something that was just a bit shit in regards to a film choice. But yes, I've born anew, like a phoenix from the flames. I've found myself a gloriously gory and just an excellent film that I'd been subliminally aware of without my knowledge, and had no actual knowledge of it, and then sorted out, or was recommended, to me, and I found it, and it's only on the YouTubes as well, so it was for free.
YouTubes.
So yeah.
Yeah, well, no, that's good to hear, because basically last episode, your recommendation under-delivered on the gore factor. So
Well, it was a woeful thing. I thought I'd hitch myself to the wagon of standard monster fare, and it was just very disappointing. It was kind of like a Hallmark Channel attempt at horror.
Classic channel.
My grandmother would have watched that and enjoyed it. And she's been dead for 8 years. So,
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to laugh. I was
no, I may have been in some way implicated in her death, so it's all right. I can talk light of it.
Anyway.
But not as a matter of record, merely as rumour and happenstance.
Okay, well, let's see what you've got to offer this time.
If you're gonna spew into this.
But yes, I've just watched the Riki-Oh, the story of Riki, 1991 Hong Kong Eastern promised laden film. Not necessarily a horror by any standards, but if you think of it more as a your more violent anime manga type territory, such as Ninja Scroll, etc.
Fist of the North Star. That's a good one.
Fist of the North Star. That would be a more direct comparison, actually. But yeah, it's a live action violent manga. So it's a young chap ends up in prison. Nobody knows who he is. He's quite a mysterious chap. But essentially, it turns out he may well be a rock hard bastard who's there to essentially sort out the prison. Bit unclear as to direct motivations. There's a little bit here and there, but essentially, once the first person's head explodes or a fist goes directly through somebody's stomach, a through and through, I believe they would call it in ballistic terms, but I'm talking a man's fist right through somebody else's tummy, right out through the other side, bits and pieces going everywhere, and that's just standard fare for this film. There's meat grinders involved in this film. Yeah. There's talk about your eyeballs. there's a fella gets his eyeball popped out just with a swift tap on the back of the head. It pops out, lands on the ground, and is instantly eaten by crows.
Those damn crows.
They love an eyeball, the crows.
That's it. And that same fella whose eyeball pops out, a bit later on, he kind of cuts open his own stomach and then tries to strangle somebody with his own intestines.
Wow.
I feel like there's easier ways to strangle a person than...
Well,
yeah, that is quite adventurous.
Yeah.
Well, I find, even though this film, I believe, originating from 1991, so sometimes you think, if I go into an older film, even if I haven't heard of it before, I'm going to see some tropes, I'm going to see something I've seen before, either later or before this. I'm wise to this. But something like this, it constantly keeps you guessing. Nothing you expect. A fella turns into a monster at one point.
Yeah.
Nobody, well, there are eyes batted, so to speak, but nobody thinks that's a strange thing. They just carry on fighting.
Is there an explanation as to
right.
why he became a monster, though? Could he just do that?
It seems to be. It's in the year 2001.
The future.
Dystopian future. Yeah. So essentially, prisons and other public services are run by private companies. Oh, what a horrible world that would be. I'm glad that doesn't happen anywhere. But essentially, by private company, I think at some point they're making molten metal, but it generally just descends into everybody having a bit of a fight, and Riki-Oh just going through the gang of four, because there's like 4 different fighters involved. But it's all it's superb. It's superb.
Yeah, I must admit, I've seen the kind of the highlights, should we say, on YouTube, and it's outrageous, the different levels of gore and the imagination. I've never quite seen anything like it.
But you'll see, if people search out the highlights, you'll get a little potted 4 or 5 minute thing of, like, essentially a mega cut of all the incredibly violent scenes. But if you're watching that, you'll miss out on the fact that Riki-Oh is he's a talented flautist. Used to a flautist. I said that accurately as far as I'm aware. Plays the flute.
Right. Okay.
I don't know if he's quite the concert flautist, but he's somewhere along the way. But according to his strange uncle, who's a bit creepy and laughs really weirdly,
like that.
Ever since, just like Johnny.
Well, that's it. But ever since he was 7 or 8 years old, actually, it doesn't say 7 or 8 in the translation I saw. It was ever since he was 7 and 8 years old. He showed superhuman strength. Right. And this uncle hadn't seen him for that intervening time and said, "Are you still strong?" And apparently he's even stronger. And this is before he was sent to prison, and he was only 21 when he was sent to prison. So he's, he becomes, I believe, his form of kung fu mastery is shigun or chigun.
Yes, chigun.
But we're all familiar.
I like to bring out my chi-gun every once in a while,
Well, the way...
Just whip it out.
Just whip out that chi-gun. Only when it's appropriate, though. Only when it's appropriate.
Well, to become a master, though, you've got to smash through an ongoing volley of tombstones. That's generally how he trains. His uncle threw tombstones at him as he punched them. And sometimes just chested them. Sometimes just took them full on. He's essentially, this is a man who, when he gets some arteries and nerves and veins or what have you cut in his arm, essentially crippling his arm, everybody thinks he's done for. You say, what's he doing? What's he doing? Oh, pulling some. And what he does, he ties his tendons back together, ties his nerves back together, so he's back in the fight. I'm no medical man. I've had my own little dalliances playing about with nerves and the like, not my own, but but unfortunately I've never had the time or the patience to do it on somebody to find out if they'd be all right afterwards. It's generally a post-mortem or post, just after the fact.
Yeah. And I imagine you kind of need to know what you're doing with them, I guess. I mean, I suppose, again, that's why people train in that field.
Well, I'm not sure how much was covered in his flautist training, but to learn any form of kung fu not only makes you a rock hard bastard and quite a clever tactician, but it also seems to give you a basic understanding of anatomy. So I think.
And playing the flute.
I don't know. I don't know what came first. I don't know whether the strength
kung fu
was
or the flute.
Well, I mean, the Eastern mysticism is not one of my strongest points, so I'm not quite sure. I know David Carradine. He liked a bit of a mysterious strangle wank in the cupboard. But
there it is again.
But
playing with his flute in a a more adventurous manner.
Well, from what I understand from watching Kung Fu: The Legend Continues and Kung Fu as it was then, he did like playing a flute. That does seem to be intrinsic. By the way, Riki-Oh, he can play a leaf. Not just a flute, he can play a leaf.
Sheesh.
He teaches a tongueless boy how to play the flute. It's.
I imagine the tongue. I mean, I'm not an expert on the flute, but I imagine your tongue's quite an important element of.
That was a factor, and to be fair, this young lad, he did seem to take it up very quickly and quite well, but there's not much time to work out an explanation because he's soon skinned alive and left for dead, so you don't really get to learn much more. Well, I'd say, forget no tongue for a flute. He's got no lips, for heaven's sake.
Well, it sounds like Riki-Oh should have trained him on something else other than playing a leaf. Maybe he should have taught him a bit of self-defence.
Well, that's it. Quite a vulnerable young lad. He's had his tongue cut out already for seeing something he shouldn't, so he couldn't talk. And he has a one-on-one opportunity with possibly the baddest man on the planet.
Yeah, it's like, ooh.
And I'll teach you how to play the flute. Be all right.
Oh dear. So what do you rate it on the gore factor? I'm imagining it's going to be pretty high, but what is your rating going to be?
Wow, I'm torn for not only what the recommendation would be, but as to how to quantify it. But
how to visualize it or encapsulate it.
Yeah, I think just because of the soul of the movie, I'm going to have to go for 4.5 tongueless innocents out of 5.
Which is a high rating. Which is
that's good. In fact, I respect that. I thought you were going to go full on 5 just from your initial speech, but I like that you're keeping it back just in case, in case there's something that's gonna.
There'll be something that I will say this has knocked me back, and it has made me it's jumped into the pantheon of some of my top faves of this or any genre.
Has it made you review your own practices, the things you get up to, and how you could mix that up a little? Or
I mean, the main thing that you do forget quite quickly, even though however a hard bastard he is, he had to go to prison, he got beaten up quite a bit, there was a lot of stuff going on, so this whole kung fu stuff, the issue with kung fu is there's an innate responsibility taught with it, so if I try to use it in some way for nefarious activities, I feel that somebody like Riki-Oh would come along and sort us out. And I like my tummy to be in one piece. I don't want to have some sort of polo mint tummy or I don't know, an eyeball being fested on by crows.
Yeah,
it's not like that. It's not going to happen. Well, the main thing I've taken away from this is, hey, let's not privatise the prisons, guys.
There's a message behind it, isn't there?
with like any dystopian future being depicted, it's there's many realisms, parallels between now and what could be.
Yeah. Some too close for comfort.
Yes, as you are too close to comfort to me right now. Actually.
Well, I've never understood this whole phrase "too close to comfort." Surely, if you're going to comfort somebody, they need to be as close as possible.
I suppose.
How could you be too close for comfort? Would you have to be like inside somebody?
Yeah, if it's not consensual, then that would be too close for comfort.
Or if you've killed and skinned them and wearing their body as a suit, by that point it's probably you know,
I mean,
just down to you. Nobody's really going to argue the point. So.
Maybe it stems from our, over Britishness in the past, our reservedness about not being too physical with each other. Maybe comfort used to be just you touch someone slightly from afar on their palm, and since then getting in your face is like, whoa, that's too close for comfort.
Touching a person on the palm.
Yes.
Flirt. You flirt.
The old palm.
That's a fourth date move, is that, mate?
Yes.
Fourth date.
Well, I must say I appreciate this, Johnny, and Adam. It's really given me a different perspective. Most of the times when I'm wandering about in a person's suit, it doesn't really, I'll get a bit bored after a while. But I think I might enact some sort of role play where they're going, "Oh, you're a bit too close for comfort," and I'll say, "What are you talking about? You just."
Man. I've got a lovely image now of you in like a person onesie, just lounging around, watching a bit of telly. Having a sandwich in your person suit.
I just got the vision of Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs with a dick tucked in between his legs, singing to I can't remember the song now.
Goodbye Horses.
Goodbye Horses, yeah.
Well,
put the lotion in the basket.
As you may or may not know, once you skin a body and use the skin as some sort of suit, the phallus is covered or completely useless because all the flesh has come out of it, hasn't it? It's just a kind of bloody pulpy or, well, I don't want to say axe wound or blood sausage, but that's pretty much the either side of the street that you're going on there. But I digress. I mean, it's not for me to say.
If this segment hasn't put you off your food already, that probably will have just done that. I imagine thinking of a blood sausage.
I think we lost the audience at axe wound.
No, it is at the end of the day, I was going to say I don't own the genitalia, so I can't comment. But it just so happens that I've got a box upstairs that is just full of different genitalia. So I suppose if anybody can make what may be seen as slightly gaudy or inappropriate comments about genitals, it's me. I'll say what I want.
You're an authority on the subject, so yeah.
Winkies.
Indeed.
Lady Garden.
Yeah.
Front, bottom. I can say what I want. Say what I want.
Nice.
Oh, I will say, as a kind of recommendation for another film, just as a random, not necessarily that horror, gory, so to speak, but a very nice film there, is the 2014 film Creep, which I believe may have been watched recently by one or more of you gents.
I've yet to see it. I've
Guilty.
Yeah, I watched the trailer for it on your guys' recommendation. I've not watched it yet. I just can't, because obviously it's Pete out of the league. I can't get past him being Pete from the league.
You get over that quite quickly, actually, particularly when he starts putting on a wolf mask and bringing out Mr. Peachfuzz or whatever.
It looked unnerving, so it's certainly on my to watch list anyway.
That's good. And that might give you a bit of an insight to my day-to-day activity.
Yeah, but no. That was a good watch, actually, a good recommendation. So, thanks for those recommendations. And yes, that's a definite comeback from last time on the gore rating. So, yeah, that brings that to a close, doesn't it? So, we'll catch you next time then, Pablo.
All right, well, TTFN, guys, watch how you travel, watch how you go. I try and watch out for you myself, but sometimes I'm busy making sure other people are... Well, I'm essentially giving their fruit to the fear that is look after yourselves.
Right.
I'll leave it at that. I don't want to go into too much detail.
Well, what I was going to say on the watching thing, I had a feeling you were actually watching me the other night. Did
you get my present?
Oh, was that you?
Well, I thought you'd get if I left the skunk outside your house, which, to be fair, I mean, they're not native to this country, so they were quite hard to get. Right. But I thought if I left it out there, kind of dressed up in that suit, the one thing I didn't prepare for is obviously you need to stuff animals for proper taxidermy, so just leaving a dead skunk in a tweed jacket on your doorstep. And I didn't realise you were away for the week, so I'm sorry if it was a bit off by the time you got it. But I just want you to know that was from the heart.
No,
that was for you.
It's the thought that counts.
No, well, no. There's been a bit of confusion because I thought it was meant for the next door neighbours, so I went and dropped it on their doorstep instead. So awkward.
Wow.
Well, no. Thank you.
That's all right. I mean, if it's not, and Adam, one of these days, you do change your route back from work so many times. It's hard to find. But one of these days, I will find out where you live, and I will get you that present. I will. I promise.
I only change it because I'm paranoid that somebody's following me, but at least that's not true.
Well, ultimately, that's why I do this. It's to educate and inform.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, it's nice to feel
informed and also enlightened.
Looking out for us.
Watching.
Yes.
Stalking.
In a sting sort of way. Anyway.
Sorry, Guy, I've got to go. I've just seen something trying to get out my chest freezer.
All right. Well, we'll see you again soon, Pablo. So,
Right, see you. Bye-bye.
Night.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Okay, so that just about brings us to a close of episode 5, and it's just me left now. Unfortunately, while recording this, there was a nuclear fallout, which has vanquished everyone, including Adam, Pablo, possibly Gemma as well. So I'm still going to put this episode out there in the hope that there are some survivors still listening. If you are listening, I hope you enjoyed my exploration of different dystopias, and actually, I do have one listener suggestion to read out before we go. They must have sent it before the first wave of attacks, or perhaps they are still alive, who knows. So it's come from Alara and Ian, and they recommended the film Look Who's Back, which is ist wieder da in German, and it's a funny satire that shows Hitler suddenly appear in 2015 and trying to make sense of the world today, whilst gradually growing in power again. Quite a witty film. And they recommend eating something such as a Wiener Schnitzel or Austrian fare. Well, if Netflix is still available, I might go have a look now and see if that's available, and maybe take comfort in a Wiener Schnitzel, seeing as it's just me now. So yeah, if you are listening and you are still out there, perhaps I'll see you next time, next month for episode 6. So long.